All right, Precalc, we're moving into hyperbolas, and we are on lesson 9.3. Hyperbolas are very, very similar. We went over the picture of conic sections today. If you need to Google that, take a look at what they look like. What do conic sections look like, and how are they created? So notice a hyperbola looks just like you would see an ellipse, but notice this minus sign right here. So the only difference is that minus sign. And then notice that the a squared and the b squared don't change. They stay the same. But notice what changes here is that the y flips. And this is going to have a y graph. And I'll show you what I mean by that. It says the transverse axis is horizontal versus vertical. So what that means is that this ellipse right here, I need a pen. This ellipse right here is going to be graphed on the x. And we're going to do one of these. And this ellipse right here is going to be graphed on the y. So that's a little different. And we're going to have a specific way of graphing these ellipses. The other thing that we need to talk about is because of this minus sign, now the foci are going to be at a squared plus b squared equals c squared because they have to go ahead and be in the middle. So remember the foci are in the middle of the little parabolas, and so they go a little bit further. All right, so today in class we started just by graphing one. So let's look at y minus 2 quantity squared over 9 minus x plus 1 quantity squared over 4 is equal to 1. And let's graph this one together. First of all, I need to know where the center is. Because the x is over on the right side, the x is still going to be negative 1, and the y will be at a positive 2. And just like we did before, I know on the x, I'm going to go 2 places. So I'm going to go 1, 2, and 1, 2. On the y, it's at 9. I'm going to go 3 places. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And this is what's really important in graphing these. We do have to draw a rectangle. From that rectangle, we're going to go ahead and draw an X that goes through the corners of the rectangle and through the center. In the actual graph, I'm going to graph it in black so you can see. The actual graph, in this case, because the y comes first, I'm going to graph this on the y. It's going to hug, so it hits at these vertices, and it's going to hug that X that we just made. So they're tiny little parabolas, but 2 put together is called a hyperbola. And notice the center is at negative 1, positive 2. The only thing we didn't find is the foci. So the foci, I'm going to take a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. So notice I have 9 and 4. 9 plus 4 is equal to c squared. So 13 is equal to c squared, but I need that distance. That distance of c is plus or minus 13. Now because this was graphed on the y, this, to find the foci, has to be added to the y. So I haven't quite answered the question of the foci, so here I am going to answer this. Because this 2 of the y has to be where the foci are, I'm going to put 2 plus or minus root 13. So my 2 foci are at plus or minus 2 plus or minus root 13, which is going to be about here and here. You can put it in your calculator if you want to. You don't ever have to graph them, but you will have to state them, and it gets a little bit difficult to state. All right, great job. I'm really proud of you guys working so hard.